All right. What's going on, Kyle?
What's up, DJ?
And brother, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course, we're here at Conversations with DJ. We are no longer talking about how many podcasts we've done because we get all the numbers confused and we get to figure out, which one's which.
Right.
So that said, Kyle Whatnall, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, man. Well, I have been playing pickleball since COVID 2020. Classic start to pickleball for me. But, I've been playing for about 4 years now, and I also work in pickleball. I work for Selkirk, so that's been a really cool way to work in the industry as well. Yeah. So it's kind of it's a big part of my life. It's like I get to compete, I get to work in it, it's been a wild journey so far, but it's just getting started. So
yeah, absolutely, just getting warmed up, right?
That's right.
I guess my very first question is what got you into pickleball, right? Because obviously COVID's happening, there's not a lot to do, probably some form of quarantine somewhere, right? So how does that even happen?
Yeah, so I moved back in with my parents in Encinitas, where we met at some point. I moved back in there, and basically I was working in the sports industry at the time. I was promoting sporting events. I was working a lot of combat sports out in Vegas. I was doing a lot of beach volleyball, IndyCar, NASCAR, just basically working for a PR agency. And all my events were canceled with COVID. So I moved back home and started picking up pickleball in the driveway. We literally set up a court. Steve Dawson sent us a net.
Nice.
And so we set that up in the cul-de-sac and started playing. And I fell in love with it. It was it was scratching competitive itch for me that I hadn't scratched since college soccer, which I actually played as well.
You played college soccer?
Yeah.
What college?
Chapman University up in Orange
D1?
County. It's not D1 or D2.
I know nothing about college.
It is D3 soccer.
Okay.
And it was that type of experience, but it was a good time. Yeah. I enjoyed it. I basically hadn't done anything competitive since that experience. So picking up pickleball, I was like, oh dang, I can maybe compete at this and have fun competing again. So
here you are now.
Here I am.
Do you have any form of racket background outside of, obviously soccer is not a racket background, but is there any ping pong, a little bit of tennis?
Not really. My parents played a pretty high level tennis. They're from New Zealand. So they actually met playing money events in New Zealand. So
nice.
So I have the genetics for some tennis. And growing up, my parents always wanted me to play tennis.
Yeah.
And I was always I don't know, it seems like you decided to play some tennis, but I was always not about it. I was always I want to play a team sport.
Try it?
I tried it out.
Okay.
They'd have me rally with them. So I always knew how to hit a forehand, but I never developed a backhand, which still working on it, but never developed a backhand and never overhead served a ball or anything like that. I just kind of would hit with them sometimes. They called it a business sport that I should learn, like tennis or golf. And I never really learned it. I really was enjoying soccer. And as you know, in SoCal, soccer's huge. So I was playing club soccer, and that was my life growing up.
Dude, that's awesome. How was the transition between, working, you said PR.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you worked for a little bit for UFC, didn't you?
So I did some UFC, some Bellator MMA, some boxing.
It was the biggest star you've actually been with.
I think my favorite star that I worked with in the combat sports world was probably Tyson Fury, who was the heavyweight champ for a while. Yeah, 6'9", close to 300 pounds, from the UK. Huge personality, super fun to work with. He was probably one of my favorite fighters to work with. Deontay Wilder, I worked there, trilogy fights that were massive rivalry fights. So I loved that aspect of my job. Going to the fights was became a really exciting part of the job, and that's one I definitely miss.
And who was the biggest pain in the butt?
Oh man. I would say, honestly, contrary to popular belief, MMA fighters were the easiest to work with. You would think that they would be not so easy. They were the sweetest, nicest, humblest guys. I'd say people in the golf event space were kind of difficult. Some of the guys that played PGA Tour events sometimes can be tough to work with. Just some of the sports you might not expect athletes to be difficult in were the ones that sometimes they would be.
Yeah. And how do you transition from doing that to going full time and working with Selkirk?
Yeah, so because all my events were canceled and I picked up pickleball, I started playing tournaments, and then eventually my events came back for work, and so my calendar just filled up completely. I was working events weekend after weekend, and any event I had free, I was I'm going to play a pickleball tournament this weekend, which was cool. But at some point, I just had no free weekends, and I was I realized that pickleball was kind of taking off. I realized that I had some unique industry experience in sports, and I was pickleball is going somewhere. How can I get involved? And so at that point, I was monitoring the brands a little bit, monitoring the tours, kind of seeing what direction everyone was heading. And Selkirk was one that that I was really looking at because I just saw what they were doing in the space early on. And so I reached out to one of the co-founders, Mike Barnes, and was like, "Hey man, this is my background in sports. Like, I think pickleball is going a really special place, and like I want to be a part of it. Here's my experience in the sports industry. Here's my experience with PR. Just want to connect." And he was like, "Yeah, like that sounds like some unique experience that we could use here." So ended up joining their marketing department. At the time, there were maybe 5 of us in marketing. Now we have about 40 people in marketing, over 100 total employees, including all the engineering folks, all the customer service folks out in Idaho. So yeah, I mean, I joined in at the end of 2022, and a lot of my job at first was just like figuring out how we're going to grow different departments, how we're going to build processes, how we're going to manage projects and systems, and basically just how we're going to build this with the type of growth that pickleball is experiencing. So it's been a really unique and fun experience in that way, for sure.
You actually, now that I remember, you work for ProKenix a little bit too,
I did
right?
for a little bit.
So was it kind of like the same type of work or?
No, it's definitely like Selkirk definitely has a lot of resources and a lot of like, they had a lot of capabilities when I moved in that like, I felt like I could really hit the ground running and get started with. So yeah, I always had that like interest in being an entrepreneur or like finding out like, what would that be like? And so ProKenix was the first like avenue of like, oh, like, the pickleball space is really cool. The paddle space is really cool. And then Selkirk ended up being like the perfect spot for me to really like use my experience in the sports industry and like be able to like also learn a ton about marketing. Like those guys know what they're doing in terms of that. So it's been a really, good, just like educational and fun experience so far.
Is there anyone just kind of how I was talking about the fighting, people, is there anyone in Selkirk that you just like love working with, maybe on the pro side, maybe on the marketing side?
I think Dylan Frazier is one of the best guys to work with in pickleball. Just incredibly like humble.
Number 1 too, baby.
Yeah, number 1 in the world, men's double. Like, can we take a moment for Dylan Frazier? Number 1 in the world. Like, what a feat. Just like he's just been a really, really great guy to work with. I can't say enough good things about him. Super just like responsible, always like wanting to get involved, always wanting to just like get involved with Selkirk, things we have going on. I think he's just like he's also just a great example of like pickleball players not needing to have the tennis background. I think 100%. That's just like he's just a really important guy in the sport, I think. And so I would point him out as someone that's been awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, now that you talk about, not having a tennis background, because everyone's like, oh, if you play tennis, like, you're going to be good instantly. It's like, well, yes, but you do have Dylan Frazier, you do have Hayden Patrick Wynn, right?
Yeah.
There's definitely a lot of people out there, especially when you reach like actually number 1.
Right.
Like, you have crazy good athletes like Jack Sock, right? You have crazy good athletes like, to me, like somebody like Deckel, right? Like moving that amount of mass around, being that like quick. And he's like, over 30 years old, I think. Like,
for sure.
And then you grab like a total normal kid like Hayden, 0 tennis background, and he's like smacking people around. It's like the coolest thing ever, right?
Yeah.
Where if you go play basketball, if you're not 6 feet, you're at least or 6'2", you're not making it.
Have you ever signed up for a pickleball tournament and like entered a bracket and you look at your opponent and you're like, like I probably got this, and then you get smoked? I don't know about you, but like there is no type a pickleball player looks, or there is no like physical aspects that you can judge. I just feel like it's a really nice sport where like anyone can get good and anyone can develop their own play style and like find ways to win. And I think like guys like Dylan and Hayden like are great inspiration for me as well as someone who doesn't have a high level tennis background. It's like, there's no reason for me not to put the work in and try to get do as good of a job on court as I can. So I think that they're great examples to all people from different backgrounds on go in, try it, and see what your potential is,
Yeah, 100%. How do you feel about Tyson leaving Selkirk?
I mean, Tyson was definitely like his relationship with Selkirk was definitely really cool. I remember like looking up to him when I was first starting to play as like a guy of like, this guy markets himself really well.
Yeah, he does. He does a really good job.
This guy's entertaining. This guy's a showman. All those type of things. I think our direction with Jack Sock has been like a super exciting like guy to basically have as our. He's just like a great example of a player, a world-class athlete from another sport coming in. And like, I'd say, just Tyson was obviously like an awesome player for Selkirk. He's an awesome player, an awesome guy. And so I love every time I see Tyson. He's always super nice. So yeah, I think the whole player space and like brands figuring different things out, over hundreds of brands now entering the space.
So many.
It's just really complicated and like lots of moving parts and pieces. So yeah, I mean, we do, and I try to just do my best part to like give our players the best experience possible, have the marketing team to like give them a good experience, and then just also like try to find new talent. And like emerging pros is a big part of Selkirk's strategy of like finding the next rising star and giving them that opportunity, that support to make it and shoot up the ranks.
Yeah. So when you're looking at, those type of players, like, so obviously like if you're above a 5-0, you have a pretty good idea of like, this guy is really good. This guy is not so good. Right. But what do you look into? What do you look for when you're looking for kind of like the up and coming ones? Like, do you look for age, height? Do you look at their parents and they're kind of tall? Like what is funny. It? What makes somebody think that he's going to be great?
I think there's two sides of it. I think one of it is the it factor, which like everyone always says the it factor. What's the it factor? Oh,
what happened?
Everything's fine. Just a minor drink spillage, but everything's good. Yeah, I'd say the if factor, like guys and gals that try to market themselves in different ways, like that have different interests, that have cool stories to tell. I think that's like a big aspect of, if you have a brand like Selkirk that has the capability to tell their stories, like what is their unique and interesting story? So I'd say that aspect is one. And then also just like results. Yeah, like what are your results? What was the competition level they were competing at?
Yeah.
Which is a super interesting conversation about like international pickleball, which I want to talk to you about too. Like, yeah, trying to figure out like how the different leagues stack up against each other, players that come over, how they compete against players here. Yeah, it's kind of like a complicated formula, and I wouldn't say there's any like clean recipe to like signing the right player. I think it's just like you have to take some stabs, I think, if you're a brand and bet on some people and hope it pays off.
Yeah, no risk, no reward, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure. And like Colin Schick and Kwang Duong would be like great examples of guys that like Selkirk bet on early on and they like ended up doing really well. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's talk a little bit about, international pickleball, right? So you're playing MLP Australia. You got drafted number 36, I believe.
Woo!
Right? Let's
last.
go.
Yeah,
Let's go.
Save the best for last. Literally the last pick in the draft, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, the last slot.
Do you know you were going to get picked going into it? Or were you watching it closely being like, oh, shit?
No, it was definitely really scary. It was also like 3 a.m. So I was just I did not sleep that night. Yeah, last pick in the draft, Mr. Irrelevant. Pretty interesting. The first draft, I went 10 overall. So my stock has definitely gone down a little bit, DJ. So we're working on getting it back up. I would say, I did not know I was going to get drafted. The whole overall, like a lot of players, unfortunately, did not make it back for season 2. So it's definitely way more competitive and the overall level is going to be a lot higher. So I'm just stoked that I'm in it again and I can kind of prove some things and have a really good season. I'm with the Northern Crocs. I wore my Crocs today to support my team.
Let's go.
Yeah, so I wanted to make sure I gave them a shout out. But yeah, I'm with the Northern Crocs, so that'll be a fun opportunity for sure. And part of the reason I'm in the league is, like I mentioned, my parents are from New Zealand, so that I have a New Zealand passport. A lot of my family lives there. So when I heard about that league down there, I was like, I got to be involved in pickleball in that region. Yeah.
So are you registered as a like American going internationally, or are you registered as like a New Zealand
I'm a New Zealand regional pick.
Nice.
And Steel. I actually spent the majority of season 1 living down there.
Nice.
And like really getting to know like the community down there and it was just a really cool spot. I don't know if you've ever been to Australia or New Zealand, but I've been in New Zealand a lot just growing up. I would go every 2 years, but I'd never been to Australia. You'll just walk down the street. And like all these Australian players, we're going to hit with some tonight, right? A lot of them will say like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. Like they'll downplay the insects and the spider issue. It's a big deal and it's a big issue. And I can say that as someone who's visited. You'll walk down the street and like there'll be trees above you and there'll be huge webs with spiders like the size of your palm. And they're just like, oh yeah, just don't bother them and it's all good. I'm like, they just live with that.
What about snakes going through the toilet?
Yeah, I was always keeping an eye out for snakes. I was on guard the whole time, honestly. And I didn't actually see any snakes, but I did see a lot of like wasps, spiders. I did see a lot of kangaroos. That was pretty cool.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So no, it feels like Jumanji, dude. It's like real life Jumanji.
Yeah.
Like jungle, humidity, heat, animals. It's a pretty cool spot.
Dude, do you ever see the video of that kangaroo somewhere holding the dog down by the neck in a river or something?
I can't say I have.
Dude, and there's like
we must be interested in a different type of content.
Dude, it's unbelievable. And like the owner goes and walks to the kangaroo and like tries to like punch the fucking animal.
No way.
And like and then it lets go of the dog and starts punching back.
Yeah, they can box. I don't know if you ever played like the fighting video games. There'd always be a kangaroo with boxing gloves.
Dude, Tekken.
They can Tekken. I would play Tekken. Yeah, Tekken had that guy, that kangaroo with the red boxing gloves. Yeah, they're definitely feisty. Like I think they're feisty animals.
That's insane.
Yeah.
So what's like, obviously you played season 1. Now you're going to season 2 as the 36th pick. Save the best for last.
That's right.
So what's like the change of mindset for somebody like you, right? Because when you go in first and you're overall 10, you're basically like a second round pick, which is really high in the draft. Yeah. And now you're a 4th round pick. So how does that affect your confidence? How does that make you feel? How do you go into this event?
Yeah, I would say like last year I competed mainly on the PPA tour here, right, in the States. And I played quite a few events with Alex Newman, which was really fun. And I got a lot of good, like, high level men's doubles experience, the type of draws you're in every tournament. And I would say that experience was really valuable, but I wouldn't say it translated very well. It wasn't the best preparation for season 1 MLP Australia. I got down there, I was like ready to like grind out just dink rallies and just like play really slow. I was just prepared for the same style of pickleball.
You were drilling with Callan.
Yeah, I was drilling with Callan, like just getting dialed for all these different angles and spots. And then I got down there and it was like balls were just flying all over the place. It was super aggressive. They're all super athletic. They all hit really hard. And so it just wasn't the type of like point construction that I was used to, or that I just felt like I couldn't really succeed in like the environment I was in, like with my team and just with the competition and the way the points were developing. I was just forcing things, trying to get involved, trying to like take over. And that's like, you've probably been there before too, where you just like go too hard and it just doesn't always work out. It's very much like live or die by the sword strategy. Yeah. And now just with the level being so much higher season 2, I think that I'm going to see a lot more of the points that I like and that I'm used to. So I'm actually like way more confident going into season 2, knowing a lot of the players in the league and knowing a lot of the new players coming over. I'm actually feeling pretty good that I'll be able to like showcase my best pickle with the level that's going to be down there. So I'm ready for that.
And like for me, like I've been playing MLP for years now, right? And the way it works is if you're actually a good player getting picked in the 4th round, the chances of your team being better is so much higher. Right. Because most people will draft the strongest they possibly can in the beginning, and then the 4th pick ends up just being kind of weak, quote unquote. I'm trying to throw any shade to anybody, But that said, like, if you get, I don't know how your team was formed, but maybe you have like a 1st round girl, maybe 2nd round girl, then guy, and then you're the 4th guy. That's a pretty strong team. Yeah. Right? So you've got to be pretty pumped for that as well. I'm
very pumped for my team. The Crocs were the champions last season as well. Okay. So
who's in your team now?
So I have Harsh, who's a player from India. Okay. Captain is Summer Dalabana, who's from Australia. She's a really strong player. And then another Australian player named Andy, who I haven't met. I haven't met Harsh or Andy yet. They're both new players to MLP Australia. Okay. But Summer is like a very strong captain, a really good player, really nice person. So I'm stoked to be on that team. And there's a dynasty. There's a lot of people message me like big Crocs to fill because they won season 1, and I'm like, that's very true. Like I want to continue the Croc dynasty season 2 for sure.
So how do you prepare for MLP? Because you obviously don't know a lot of these people, right? Or I don't know if you do, but do you fly out to Australia? Do you bring them here because there's better practice here? Yeah. How do you figure out the whole dynamic of the team?
Yeah, so the whole reason I got involved in the first place was I like Mitch and Amelia, who I think you know both of them, 2 Australian players, came over and stayed with me and trained a little bit with me. And yeah, I think part of it is like bringing over some of those players, introducing them to my friends, like getting hits set up, having them over here, getting them that experience. And then also this, like they do the same for me. I go down there, I stay with them. And it's been like this really cool, like, cross-cultural experience where like, we're bonding over pickleball and giving each other these really cool opportunities to like stay in another country, meet a bunch of new people, see a lot of new places. So yeah, I'll head down there and meet some of the people that I haven't met already in the league and just train with them, drill with them, get dialed with my teammates, and then go into that. I would ask you, as like a guy with a lot of MLP experience now, like, Do you have any advice for myself or like MLP Australia players, maybe some of the new ones that are coming in the league? Do you have any tips for specifically that format, right? Because it's like such a different type of pickleball format.
Yeah.
Do you have any tips for how to do well in that type of, rally scoring to 21?
I mean, there's a lot of things you can do, but are we talking mostly about like, the team is already formed, so there's nothing you can do about drafting anymore, right? So when it comes to a team that's already drafted, basically, to me, when I look at MLP in the US and Zane wins a shit ton, and Anna Bright wins a shit ton, like they have a point, right? They're building a lot of these teams based on chemistry. They're building a lot of these teams based on energy, right? So if you get 4 really good players that don't really like match with each other, I just don't think they're going to do as well.
Interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
So most of the teams that have done really well in MLP, unless you look at the very first one, which was like basically Ben by himself, right? Every other team that has one MLP is like super high energy. They all get along. They all want to go to dinner together. They all want to hang out. They're all cheering for each other, right?
Yeah.
And the teams that don't do as well is like, when there's 3 of them want to practice, but one doesn't show up. 2 of them are friends and the other 2 don't know each other. Right? And then I think people get really lost in, let me just try to get the best player possible every round, when really you should be looking more at like, who matches up with who really well. Have they played together before? Do they get along? Do they have a history of like drama or whatever it is, right? Because everything that comes up goes down as well, So for me, I mean, for you guys, as the team has just already been formed, to me it's just basically like hanging out a lot, group chats, talk shit, share some memes. Like really get the ball rolling, because, once you're out there, you're playing for yourself, you're playing for your team as well. And so you want to be able to not only cheer for yourself, but also want your actual teammates to win, not for you, but for themselves.
And trust each other a little bit, right?
Like
build that trust off the court.
Yeah, for sure.
That makes sense that hype would be more valuable in MLP. Like hype as a player stat.
Yeah,
like
100%.
Energy, hype, getting other people fired up, like is a good thing to have as a player in MLP.
100%. Like, I mean, just imagine, right? I mean, I love you to death, J-Dub, but it's like, like if you have J-Dub as a teammate and you hit a winner, you hit a tweener winner, he goes,
he just looks at you like this.
Yeah, he's like, okay, well, great, but then you have Anna Bright, she's like, It's like it pumps you up, right? It makes you play better. For the most part, some people might not like it, but and also there's the other factor too, where the opposite team could find that annoying. So they might play worse.
That's a great point. I never thought of it that way.
Yeah, like you want to put as many things as you possibly can in their head while keeping the least amount in your head. You want to keep your canvas
clean,
white, right? Just like completely clean.
Yeah.
So you want to have them worrying about the fucking sun, the net, somebody yelling in their face, somebody staring them down.
Yeah.
Like a coach being on the corner, like, doing handstand, whatever it is, and then that's going to make all of them play worse.
I like that.
So to me, it's just all about like actually just being out there.
Yeah.
Hopefully that answers your question.
That's a great answer. Thank you.
And just fucking enjoy it, dude. It's MLP.
It's
like,
so fun,
like
right?
the best thing out there.
So fun. Yeah.
Is there any part of you that is like, like I'm playing MLP Australia, but I really want to play like Challenger in the US? Or
that'd be pretty cool, for sure. That'd be awesome. I think I am curious to see if there will be any crossover between current MLP Australia players that come and play Challenger, because I do think Challenger is a higher level than down there. So I think that I'm curious to see if any of them will make that transition, like if any American-based Challenger teams will pick up any players from that league or not. But that would be pretty cool. Imagine getting to like play in both. That would be pretty amazing. So I hope someone will have that opportunity. If it were me, that'd be amazing. But whoever gets that opportunity, that'd be it's once in a lifetime anyway, but that'd be pretty once in a lifetime to play in both regions.
So who's like the number one female and male from Australia?
So there's a few. So Mitch, who you've met, is a top male player. There's a guy named Tom Evans who just came over and he played really well in singles in San Clemente. Amelia Schmidt's a great player who I mentioned. She's a recent Selkirk signing too, which is exciting. Our first Australian signing.
She's now with F3 too, actually.
That's right. Oh, you're an F3 person as well.
No, I'm not.
Okay. But I saw that.
Shout out to them though.
Yeah, shout out to them. Rose Van Reek, who you're going to meet tonight, is also a really strong female player down there. Summer Delabana, my captain, another top one. And then there's also some like really, really talented Asian players like 2 really strong male players from India, some strong players from Taiwan, Singapore, all those types of places. So yeah, there's some really good talent over there. And I was impressed, and like I really enjoyed it. Like I'm excited for the level that it's going to be season 2.
Do you see the U.S. with pickleball staying at the top for a long time, or do you think it'll kind of like
even out?
Maybe China will get in there?
Yeah. Everyone's all like always saying like, oh, like China's gonna be so good. I think they will be. I think United States is going to be the strongest level of pickleball for a while, but I do think Australia is on their way. I think overall going down there, it kind of reminded me of when I first started playing pro events like 2 years ago. Like it felt like going in a time machine in terms of like just the scale of event. You know what I mean? So I think they're probably like right now a year or 2 behind the development here, but I think they're catching up fast. And I think that eventually, I mean, obviously the news came out this week that like the tour is going to go all over the place, right? You'll be doing some international travel, hopefully, which is exciting. So I think once that happens, we'll start seeing like really good players located in these different spots, and they'll kind of develop players under them. That's kind of how it works, right? It's like a farming system where like a good player like meets a lot of good talent and like brings them up to their level. I think that's what we'll see with like different pockets all around the world. It'll be really cool.
No, I think it'd be great. I mean, I'm super pumped to go internationally. I don't know exactly what I'm actually going to go to.
Yeah, what are you going to do? You don't know?
I think it'd be sick. Definitely Europe.
Okay, you got to do the Melbourne event in Australia.
I would imagine I would do that one too. I don't know if I'm super excited to go to like India personally.
Okay.
Nothing like I don't have anything to say about it. I just doesn't.
Just never thought about going there.
Interest, you know, but. And the other 2, I don't even know what the other 2 are. So
we're going to Vietnam. Our tour's going to Vietnam. We have an MLP in Vietnam, so that'll be cool.
That's cool. I mean, I guess like it would be a lot more enticing to me if I was going with a team.
Yeah.
Right? Like if I had a coach and an owner and a PT or, you know, whatever it is, right? And then like 4 people, like that sounds like a really fun like trip.
Yeah.
To just get in a American Airlines, you know, plane just to go somewhere and like land and be like, where am I? Like it doesn't sound super exciting to me.
I gotcha.
But I mean, like that said, I mean, I'll definitely play Europe.
Yeah.
I would probably do a quick stop at Spain anyway.
Of course, that's where. Do you have a lot of family in Spain? I assume.
Yeah, my mom's side of the family. It's there. So I'll probably stop there, say hi, maybe go play pickleball or vice versa. You know?
Fun fact about me, DJ. You might not know this, but
no, you don't tell me. Don't tell me you're Spanish.
I have a Spanish degree, and I really like Don Quixote and like Don Quixote.
Oh, dude, that's a good book.
You've got some sweet tattoos. I've always wanted a Don Quixote tattoo. So
really,
I'd love to go to Spain and just get one, like on my forearm or something. But I feel like I should do it in Spain. So I need to book a flight to get that done.
We might do it together. Just
that'd
for
be cool.
Following PPA event in Spain.
Yeah,
dude, they're missing
sweet.
something. There's actually pretty decent pickleball out there.
I'm not surprised with Padel and everything.
Padel is huge, bro. And funny enough, like people don't actually realize that I'm from Spain. Like they think it's just Judith and Jaume.
Yeah.
And I've been like kind of putting Spain on the map for the past like 5 years.
Yeah, you're like,
and they're like, hey,
I've been here.
I don't play singles, but I'm right here.
Yeah, you don't. That's funny.
So what does like obviously playing MLP Australia and stuff, like what does your training look like? I know we're gonna hit some games later today and play a couple doubles games, but do you train? Do you work out? Like what does it all look like to you?
Yeah, I'd say for me, like the biggest improvement to my body physically that I've made through pickleball is like flexibility. I don't know how, like I was like, and it's still something I work on. Like I just feel like I was born very like tight, like tight hamstrings, tight groins, tight calves. Like I really had to work on getting flexible so that I just wouldn't hurt my body playing as much. So like that's like a lot of band work, a lot of stretching, like never underestimating rolling out. Like rolling out every night is like really important to do. Just like foam roller, sit on the sore spots, lacrosse ball on the foot, roll it out. Yeah. I'd say like that recovery work's been really important for me. I love to sauna. I'm a big sauna guy. I try to sauna every day. So that's been nice as well. And then in terms of gym stuff, like I figured I should just be kind of string bean. It seems like some of the string bean guys, like Gabe Tardio, I've played a few times, and the ball comes back extremely fast. So I know you like are in the gym always getting jacked. I don't know if that's necessarily needed to produce the kind of power. Or like Hayden, Hayden doesn't necessarily, like Hayden's got crazy power, and he's not a huge guy. So I don't know if it's necessarily a correlation between like power and like, I don't know, with lifting weights, like doing like dumbbell press. Do you think there's a correlation between? Have you noticed an increase in your power Because
well,
when I met you,
power, yes.
Okay.
Well, I mean, the stronger you are, the harder you're gonna be able to hit it, regardless.
Okay.
Now, does it come from bench press, or does it come from core? Does it come from like doing
Your
squats?
legs? Yeah.
Like, I mean, it all has to do a little bit with it, right?
Okay.
I would imagine that anything upper body is mostly helping like your forearms, your wrist.
Yeah.
You know, all that quick snap work more than like it is like just your chest, right?
Yeah.
Especially like, you know, when I think of like basketball players, like you want to be like chest out, like you want to like bump people and stuff like that. In pickleball, you don't have to do that.
Yeah.
But I mean, I would say like when I think of like the perfect like athlete, right? You want to be very flexible. You want to have a ton of strength in your extremities, and you got to have really good balance and core strength, right? That obviously, and you have to be able to like last long enough.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So
And
that's
be fit.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. So that's kind of what I think the best pickleball player would look and kind of like feel like at, you know,
Yeah.
to that extent.
Yeah.
Now that's it. I'm not as jacked anymore, but I used to be.
Yeah.
But I just like doing it.
Okay.
Right. It's also another chance for me to hang out with, you know, Mike.
Yeah,
It's
that's
another
fair.
chance to like do things with people.
Yep.
With I used to work out with my dad quite a bit
Oh, that's
too,
cool.
like 2 a day sort of thing.
Nice.
My dad came out to do like cardio with Mike and I one day. He was running us in the fucking sand and stuff. So it just
great.
gives you, like, to me, working out also, like, it obviously like helps my mental, helps my body, but also like it's another chance to give me to like connect with a lot of other people,
That's
which I
cool.
really enjoy,
That's
right?
cool.
Which maybe if I'm not, then I don't get to see my dad as often.
Yeah. That
You know,
makes
maybe I
sense.
don't get to hang out with Mike as often, right? So it's more of a I enjoy it / like disconnect more than just like let me just get fucking jacked.
Yeah. It's like there's a social aspect for it.
Yeah, just like
as
people
well.
go eat, you know. It's like
Yeah,
I
yeah.
use like, let's just go to the gym,
Yeah, you
bro.
just
Like,
go
or
lift.
tell Mike all the time, let's go for a run,
cool.
like whatever.
I'm a
And
big
then
Peloton guy.
Peloton.
So I like spin classes, Peloton,
There
stuff
you go.
like that.
You should do Pilates.
Pilates would be cool.
I
or
heard
like
I heard
bar.
really good things. Dude, I heard really good things.
Pilates is hard, I've heard. I've heard it's really hard.
And I heard it's like basically perfect for pickleball because it works like
Oh,
everything that you
those
need.
spots?
Yeah. Like hips and stuff like
That
that.
would make sense.
And now I can't do a class.
Yeah, you can.
There's
There's
I
nothing
can't-
stopping you from
Dude,
doing
I
a class.
can't- I
You
can't-
could do a class tomorrow
Bro,
morning.
I can't do it.
There's no reason you shouldn't do a class.
I'm gonna pull a mat challenge show up in leggings.
Do it.
too.
Do it. Make some content. That'd be funny. Yeah.
But yeah, I can't do that. I can't do bar. I would do yoga. You know,
I've tried some yoga.
how does that work out for you?
Honestly, not great. To be honest,
it's like a legit workout.
it's hard, and like I actually found that I was like stressing different parts of my body out that I didn't want stressed out when I'd go like train the next day. So yeah, I'm sure yoga is good for some people. It just wasn't the right fit for me.
Yeah, I had a very similar experience. I actually hired a yoga trainer to come to
wow.
my house, and he was awesome. Like I loved everything that we did, but like having my wrist, you know, it's like I don't want to hurt it.
You support your body weight so much.
Yeah,
doing
it's like
different
all
stuff.
you're doing. It's
Yeah.
like, can we just like stand on your feet, bro? Like,
Right.
what is going on? It's like, no, like it's like stretching your wrist, and I'm like, it's hurting my wrist.
Yeah.
It's not stretching
Yeah,
it. Like,
no more.
so I was like, I'll just kind of stay off of it. But what I didn't realize about yoga is that you like actually do abs and stuff. I thought it was just like straight stretching.
Mm-hmm.
No,
No,
was
it's
gonna come over and stretch slap
workout.
the fuck out of me. But no, he was just like doing abs the entire time.
It's a workout. It's definitely a workout.
Yeah, dude. What are your thoughts on like paddle technology? Obviously, like Selkirk, you know, they basically make 5 new paddles every other Tuesday.
Yeah.
Are you like involved with any of that or?
I'll test prototypes for Selkirk, which is great. Yeah, Rob and the engineers will send me prototypes to try, and that's always really fun. And I never know what I have either, which is a cool too. I don't know. You probably tested some prototypes in your day too, like where you get a bunch and they just have, you know, they're blacked out paddles and they just have a little label with a series of numbers.
They don't tell you what it is.
And they don't tell you.
Know.
Yeah, they just want you to give your honest feedback on it. So yeah, I do a little bit of that. Obviously, we have just like a ton of product, and I'd say that's been a nice advantage of like competing and working for Selkirk at the same time. Is I feel like I know the product pretty well, and I feel like I've hit with pretty much everything in our lineup, which is like a very big lineup of paddles.
Yeah, it's huge.
We try to make a paddle for every type of player. So I feel like, yeah, that's an advantage of like, I don't necessarily work on like the construction. I couldn't get into the nitty gritty on like how all that works. But yeah, I know how paddles kind of feel, and I test prototypes to help kind of sometimes give some feedback. Yeah.
Do you think Selkirk's best paddle is the 002?
The 002 is a sweet paddle.
Yeah.
It's a sweet paddle. I really like that paddle. I don't know. I kind of bounce around between the Power Air and the 002. I do come back to a lot sometimes. But yeah, I really like the Power Air. I really like the Amped, which is a pretty new paddle. I know Jack's currently playing with the Amped, which is cool. So yeah, I think that is a sweet paddle. We do have some stuff coming down the pipeline for labs. So some new labs releases coming up that I'm excited about. But yeah, the 002, people are obviously big fans of. Like, you still see a lot of people playing with it, which is pretty crazy. Yeah.
Can you give you don't have to. Can you give an insight on like how many paddles Selkirk sells a year?
I don't know. A lot.
Yeah.
A bit. Yeah. I mean, in terms of like, it's been really cool. Like, I can travel around the US and I feel like I see our product that I help like market and that I help, with campaigns for. I like see it in all sorts of places. Like, I see friends of mine that I haven't seen in 10 years, posting to social media, and they're playing with a Selkirk paddle. Just like really cool. It's just, I realize how unique it is to like work for something that's exploding so much that like I get to see my work impact like sports. I see pro sports teams playing with it. I see my friends playing with it. Definitely a lot of paddles get moved through Selkirk. They definitely make a ton of paddles. It's pretty cool. Like I said from the jump, like the expansion's been the biggest part of my job is just like helping figure out the expansion.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and like both external but also internal expansion, like needing staff and needing new people, new minds, people who've worked for really good big brands, coming into pickleball and giving their insight. Yeah, a lot of it's been like learning from those people and trying to figure out what are we building here and what's the direction and how do we make it work? Yeah.
What are like the top Selkirk states? Because there's like there's like always like a little town somewhere in the middle, Wisconsin.
Yeah, good question.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to like Coeur d'Alene, Idaho?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, obviously that's where headquarters is.
Right.
So that's a big time Selkirk region and town.
Huge.
So that's pretty cool. I would say the whole Pacific Northwest for that reason. With headquarters up there, you see a lot of Selkirk stuff all around there. Other than that, I mean, my travels really just like yours to tournaments where you see a lot of Selkirk for sure at tournaments. But I don't know what our hottest states would be. Obviously, like I would assume California and Florida and Texas, where like the huge pickleball states would obviously get a lot of products sold there, just with the weather and everything. But yeah, I would say Pacific Northwest is Selkirk's got it pretty locked down. It's great when you go up there and go to rec play. You see a lot of paddles.
Well, bro, I'm gonna say a quick thank you to my sponsors, and then I'm gonna open up the pod to whatever you want to talk about real quick. Okay. But like always, thank you to the MK Lab for hosting us. Thank you, Hesacor, you Drippin, obviously Head and Stack. Use DJ Young at the end for a nice little discount. And yeah, bro, whatever floats your boat.
Just like in terms of like...
So whatever you want to talk about, any questions, shout outs.
Yeah, I would just say, well, thanks to you. First time I met you, I was like, this guy's good, and this guy looks like he could maybe beat me up. Those are my first thoughts when I met you at like a Bobby Riggs open play. So I'd say thanks to you. You've always been like a super nice pro in the area, thanks, like bro. Always super welcoming. Callan as well, obviously.
Callan's
who's like,
man.
Callan, shout out to him for everything he's done for my pickle experience and career. I wouldn't be where I am, both professionally and like playing pickleball and working in pickleball without meeting Callan at some point. Cammy McGregor took her first shot on me, training me up. That's a cool shout out, right? Yeah. Cammy McGregor. Shout out to her being my first coach.
C&D Pickleball Nets.
Yeah, C&D Pickleball Nets. And then, I would just say, shout out to Selkirk as well for sponsoring me, letting me like really live out a dream, like playing pickleball overseas. Never thought I'd get to do something like that. So shout out to them as well.
Yeah, let's go Northern Crocs.
Yeah, let's go Northern Crocs.
Go, baby.
Let's bring home the ship. Thanks, DJ.